Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 233 Swindler Part 1. Yu Zhonghyuk's master, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, was very patient. It was the same 100 years ago, and even 200 years ago. That's how she was able to make a group of sword techniques. As other martial artists sold their skills and left Murim, she stayed here alone and broke through transcendent heights. So who the hell are you? Her big finger poked Yu Zhonghyuk's cheek as he hung in the air. It was just a finger, but it was the finger of a transcendent. Thus, there was no way it couldn't hurt. Nevertheless, Yu Zhonghyuk didn't react. The teacher and disciple. The two of you are the same. They were the words spoken by one of the Murim's 10 Grand Masters, the Heavenly Demon. Perhaps the Heavenly Demon saw them accurately. You aren't saying a word. You will be spanked if you don't talk. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint raised the large smoking pipe. Yu Zhonghyuk's but couldn't endure the pressure, and he couldn't help letting out a pathetic sound. Damn, Kim Dokja. I will surely kill you. Slap. 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 The sounds were like jokes, but the power contained in the pipe wasn't a joke. Before long, blood trickled from Yu Zhonghyuk's mouth. Then the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyebrows formed a strange curve. You are a man of character. She was a bit impressed. I will ask you again. Where did you steal and learn the power of the Breaking the Sky Sword School? I will spare your life if you tell me honestly. Yu Zhonghyuk slowly raised his head at these words. The Breaking the Sky Sword School was originally a non-humanistic organization. TL, an organization that doesn't pass down techniques to people with personality problems, i.e. don't value talent over virtue. As an outsider, Yu Zhonghyuk couldn't have learned it. Now the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint said she would spare him. Her meaning was clear. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was currently trying to take Yu Zhonghyuk as a disciple. Teacher. Yu Zhonghyuk understood his teacher's mind better than anyone. It was hard to find a proper disciple in the declining Murim. Then a transcendent person who learned her martial arts suddenly showed up. It was natural to be interested. But Yu Zhonghyuk bit his lip. Maybe it wasn't bad to move according to Kim Dokja's intentions. He knew the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint better than anyone. If he took the chance and told her the story, he would surely find himself in the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's good graces. However, Yu Zhonghyuk didn't want to do that. HRMM, it is a fiery gaze. Do you desire me? Talking such bullshit in the middle of this situation, it was certainly his teacher. Yu Zhonghyuk kept biting his lip. You will die if you meet me here. Yu Zhonghyuk remembered his teacher's last appearance. A transcendent wounded alone after years of hard work. No matter what, her stubbornness refused to be broken. Dumb disciple. They are existences that you can deal with. His teacher fought alone against the Returnees Alliance after being turned down by the strongest in Murim, the Heavenly Demon and Blood Demon. Live, Zhonghyuk. At the time, Yu Zhonghyuk hadn't fought with her because he was weak. He was too weak. Your eyes are sad. Yu Zhonghyuk trembled at the sudden words. The clear eyes of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint faced Yu Zhonghyuk. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was a mixture of a human and giant god. Thus, she had one of the abilities of the Neanderthals. Lonely, arrogant, deeply wounded. She had the mirror eyes that could read the emotions of others. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was staring at Yu Zhonghyuk with these eyes. Who are you? Yu Zhonghyuk harshly bit his lips like he was digging up his agony. He shouldn't say it. Never, he absolutely couldn't say it. The constellation Demon King of Salvation is looking at you. Yu Zhonghyuk looked up at the message. The constellation Demon King of Salvation says it will be okay. It would be okay? The constellation Demon King of Salvation says this round will be different. The constellation Demon King of Salvation is telling you to trust your teacher. This round would be different. He wouldn't have believed it if it was spoken by someone else. Then why? He wanted to believe what this person was saying. The constellation Demon King of Salvation. This fly, shut up. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint flicked her fingers at the air and all the sound in the area disappeared completely. All outside sound was cut off with magic power. It was possible for a transcendent at the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's level. Kim Dokkaebis' voice wouldn't be heard for a while as long as the Dokkaebis didn't adjust the channel frequency. From now on, it would be left to Yu Jonghyuk's own judgment. My name is Yu Jonghyuk. Yu Jonghyuk took a small breath before releasing it. I was your disciple. What does that mean? I have never seen you before. I naturally have no memories of taking you as a disciple. It is literally what I said. I learned the techniques from. The moment Yu Jonghyuk was about to speak, sparks flew around his body. The storied disciple of Breaking the Sky Sword Saint is activated. Yu Jonghyuk's lips twisted as the ending of his words were forcefully changed to a honorific. Teacher. Yu Jonghyuk's expression distorted. He recalled the conversation he had with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint in the last round. You said that you are a regressor. If so, we might meet again someday. I won't become your disciple next time. This angry fellow. You should say sweet words, and why aren't you adding honorifics? Do you want to caught in your next life? Perhaps this story remained because of his previous conversation with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. You have to use honorifics for the incarnation Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. It was funny. He hadn't been formal with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint at the time, yet this story remained with him. At that time, become my disciple again. His heart throbbed as old memories poured out like a waterfall and knocked on his heart. He couldn't hear the indirect messages, but he felt Kim Dokkaebis looking this way. Companion. Yu Jonghyuk had long forgotten what it felt like to believe in someone. He slowly blinked before opening his mouth. Aren't you wondering about who I am? Of course, I am terribly curious. Then I will open my mental barrier. Take a peek. It is possible with your mirror eyes. You know about the mirror eyes? Just 5 minutes. I can't give you any more time than that. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes were tinged with suspicion. Are you planning to use a strange trick? You can subdue me even if I used a trick. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyebrows raised at the provocative tone. Okay. It wasn't just the constellations who loved stories. There weren't many chances to peek at another transcendental existence. This transcendent suddenly appeared in Miram and used the same techniques as her. There was no way she wasn't curious. I will look at you. Soon after, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's mirror eyes shone. Yu Jonghyuk felt like his hair was being pulled out. A memory transfer through the mirror eyes was dangerous for Yu Jonghyuk and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Nevertheless, Yu Jonghyuk was committed. Perhaps the spirit of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint would be broken. She might not believe what she saw. She could deny everything and erased Yu Jonghyuk. However, if this gamble succeeded, he might be able to change the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. A dozen minutes passed until the clear energy of the mirror eyes in the area disappeared. The light of the mirror eyes was turned off, but the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint didn't talk. She just stared at the floor with a lowered head. Had she gone crazy? Or there was an unknown emotion in the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes as she raised her head. It was the first time he had seen this expression in the third round. A moment passed before Yu Jonghyuk realized the meaning of the expression. You said you wouldn't be my disciple again. Yu Jonghyuk and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint talked for a long time. You've worked hard. Stop with the flimsy comforting. It doesn't match you. Okay. You are unmistakable, my disciple. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the second round regression had died and would never return again. The current Breaking the Sky Sword Saint wasn't the same as the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the second round. Even so, the two people spoke like they weren't conscious of this fact. I got revenge. The Heavenly Demon and Blood Demon, I beat them both in the 35th scenario. Yes. I saw. I'm not satisfied since you found it hard to win. Then you shouldn't have died. It wasn't a normal conversation between a teacher and student, but there was a gentle smile on the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's face. You've changed a lot, Jong-hyuk. Nothing has changed. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint flicked her finger at the answer. Then a portion of the barrier around the hut distorted and a panel reminiscent of a large telescope lens popped up. On the small panel, the outside scenery was shining. Is it due to that child that you came to see me? It was Kim Dokkaebis talking to the dog while eating dumplings. Yoo Jong-hyuk watched the scene and opened his mouth. Is he your new friend? There is no such thing as friend. This person is just... He is already brave enough to think about fighting against the nebulae. Do you think he can do it? As the first friend of her blunt disciple, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint looked closely at Kim Dokkaebis' face. Then the barrier shook and a loud voice was heard. Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Give up your techniques. The surprised Yoo Jong-hyuk rose from his seat. The Dokkaebis. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint spoke like she was tired of this. The techniques buyers came again. It is faster than planned. How long has it been? A while. I'm the only one left around here. Martial arts were valuable in Murim. It was because they were all types of stories made up of history. The deeper the origin, the greater the value. The Dokkaebis were well aware of this and coveted the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's techniques. Yoo Jong-hyuk pulled out the heavenly sword of gathering clouds and opened his mouth. Kim Dokkaebis and I will handle it. The opponents are Dokkaebis. You can't do anything. It is possible for Kim Dokkaebis. Instead of answering his teacher's question, Yoo Jong-hyuk watched the Dokkaebis on the panel. One of the Dokkaebis looked familiar. It is that guy from Seoul Dome. Kim Dokkaebis probably wouldn't let him go. Then Kim Dokkaebis' voice came from the screen. I didn't know you were still alive. Didn't you go to be punished? As expected, Kim Dokkaebis' characteristic messing around with people had started. Kim Dokkaebis scratched his chin and spoke to the Dokkaebis like it was interesting. Yes. Did you come to buy the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's techniques? Yoo Jong-hyuk shrugged at his teacher. Kim Dokkaebis would have sorted it even without Yoo Jong-hyuk coming out. He didn't know what Kim Dokkaebis was trying to do, but Kim Dokkaebis was going to do another weird trick to deal a proper blow to the Dokkaebis. The next moment, Kim Dokkaebis said something strange with an unexpected smile. Okay, I'll sell it, the techniques of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Chapter 234. Swindler. Part 2. Perhaps at that time. I saw the trembling expression of the Dokkaebis and remembered some bad memories. Bayu floating beside me was also frowning. It was natural for her to be furious. This was a Dokkaebi behind the tragedy of the 41st Shin Yusung disaster. His name, was it Paul? I thought he would go to purgatory and be severely punished. The Bureau's punishment was like hitting cotton. What type of punishment was joining the Murim redevelopment team? You've lost a lot of weight in your face while I haven't seen you. Kuu. You were an intermediate Dokkaebi back then. Now you are, lesser grade? You. I saw his agitation and felt like asking for the solo meeting rights to beat him up again. The story of this guy being beaten up, was the Wenny person reading it well? Stop and back off, Paul. Another Dokkaebi moved forward on behalf of Paul, who was unable to speak. Are you Kim Dokkaebis? I looked closer, and this Dokkaebi was also familiar. I had heard this voice somewhere before. Eh? Wait, this guy? Was that you? The person working under Baehyung. The name? Youngki. Indeed. You are Kim Dokkaebis. The Dokkaebi happily greeted me. I dimly remembered. He was the Dokkaebi responsible for the subchannels under Baehyung. I heard rumors that you were alive. I didn't expect to see you at a place like this. Is Baihyung doing well? He was visibly gloomy after you disappeared. I felt a little sorry that Baihyung had become depressed. That guy Baihyung must have liked me. Haven't you cleaned up well? You previously didn't even know how to update the scenario. Ahahat. That is a shameful story. I am now an intermediate Dokkaebi. He was an intermediate Dokkaebi. This guy was part of the Korean Peninsula scenario, so Baihyung must have received a high-speed promotion. It felt like a lot of time had passed, but it had been less than 1 year. By the way, Dokja. What do you mean by selling the skills? Youngki watched me with calm eyes. No matter what, a Dokkaebi was a Dokkaebi. I couldn't take it easy. I meant it literally. I will persuade the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to sell you the skills. How will Dokja? I have my ways. What skills do you need? The Red Phoenix Shuanpa? Or the 100 Steps Godly Fists? We already have the 100 Steps Godly Fists. What we need is, the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship? Youngki nodded at my words. It was as I thought. The Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship. It was the name given to the Breaking the Sky Sword Saints breaking the sky. One of the top-ranked skills in the first Murim that anyone would covet was Yu Jonghyuk's Breaking the Sky Swordmanship. I felt the Breaking the Sky Master growling by my side and quickly agreed. Okay. I'll sell it. No, I won't sell it. I'll give it to you. The Breaking the Sky Master looked up at me with absurd eyes. Youngki was astonished. Oh really? Instead, do me 2 favors in exchange. The first one, place the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship as the prize for the scenario you will soon open. Huh? I smiled at Youngki's stupid expression. Did he think I would just give him the Breaking the Sky Swordsmanship? Aren't you going to open the martial arts competition scenario soon? The Black Demon Sword is included in it. How do you know? Why are you so startled? You always do this. It is a regular scenario for Murim. A precious sword of Murim will appear and a huge crowd of people will fight for it. That is true, but how do you know about the Black Demon Sword? How did I know? The martial arts competition was an event scenario that Yu Jonghyuk repeatedly participated in when he came to First Murim. I didn't know how many times I made a comment telling the author to skip the competition. It doesn't matter how I know. In any case, add the Breaking the Sky Swordmanship as a prize. Give it as the first place prize. Youngki's eyes rolled quickly. It was probably a great suggestion for him. There were a limited number of things that the Dokkaebis could do with the techniques bought from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. They could secure additional subscriptions by adding it to a large scenario or sell it at a high price through the Dokkaebi bag. Youngki was currently figuring out which one would be more profitable. Okay. I have nothing to lose if I do this. It will be saving on the cost of buying the technique. Only? You said 2 favors. What is the second one? I laughed softly at the prudence. He had become pretty clever since reaching intermediate level. The second condition is simple. I want everyone here to participate in the martial arts competition scenario. Everyone here. Youngki's eyes narrowed. He finally figured out my ploy. It is an interesting suggestion, but it is difficult. Why? I don't know about the other incarnations, but it can't be the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I thought he would say this. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was likely to win if she participated in the martial arts competition. The participants of the martial arts competition would naturally be reduced and the Dokkaebis would suffer losses. I acted like I was yielding a big thing. Then everyone apart from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Then it's fine. The martial arts competition is in 2 weeks. Until then, please prepare the skills of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I responded to the waiting Youngki. I understand. Don't forget to properly invite us to the scenario. Of course. Then I'll see you again soon. Give my regards to Baihyung. Haha, understood. Maybe he was glad that things went well. Yunki laughed joyfully as he disappeared. The Dokkaebis that followed him also started to leave. Paul was staring at me the whole time and I glared as hard as I could. After a while, the Dokkaebis disappeared and Jang Haeung standing next to me grabbed my collar. Hey, what the hell did you do just now? Sell the techniques? Enter the martial arts competition? What the hell? Woof woof. Woof woof woof. We won't sell our techniques. What the hell are you thinking? The dazed, breaking the sky master responded too late. It was the expected reaction. In fact, this much was what I guessed. Kim Dokja. It was as expected. Yu Jonghyuk caused a huge cloud of dust as he ran over and grabbed my neck. He shook me like a man betrayed. I flapped like a paper doll without strength and said, "Let me speak." Shut up. What the hell are you thinking? Selling the techniques. Please calm down. I did it because of you. What? Don't you know what we just got? Yu Jonghyuk's hand stopped for the first time at my words. Then a message came to my ears. A new sub-scenario has arrived. The sub-scenario martial arts competition has begun. Yu Jonghyuk read the details of the scenario that just arrived and was silent for a moment. The black demon sword? Yes. You said you wanted it. If you look closely, there is also the demon spirit bead. It is the third place prize, but I don't remember well. Yu Jonghyuk's eyes were greatly shaken as he watched me. He suddenly released me. This jerk, you didn't need to be so moved. In any case, he seemed to be persuaded. The problem was the other side. I turned and saw the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint standing with a stiff expression. An existence born with the power of a giant god. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's existence is no different from a god. There was nothing wrong with the description from Ways of Survival. She felt overwhelmingly threatening, just standing there. I smiled and waved my hand. Did the conversation between teacher and student end well? You aren't sane. Listen to my story before saying anything. I have no time to mix words with a person like you. The heavy fog around us was thickening. I quickly added, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, it isn't possible to maintain the old ways forever. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's thick eyebrows were fiercely curved. Is it so important to keep the non-humanistic principle? What if you lose everything you have because of it? Yu Jonghyuk looked at me like I was mentally ill. Kim Dokja. Don't say anything else. Of course, I kept talking. In the first place, your real strength isn't the Breaking the Sky swordsmanship, right? You've abandoned it for a long time after reaching transcendence. Why don't you sell it for something? The ground around me started vibrating. Eventually, Yu Jonghyuk placed me behind him as protection and raised the heavenly sword of gathering clouds. It felt as if the gravity of the whole area was strengthened. It felt like a giant mountain was pressing on my shoulders. Jang Haeung and Han Myunggo couldn't even scream as they sank into the ground. The group would be wiped out if this continued. Teacher, wait. Yu Jonghyuk cried out, but the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint didn't stop. Was she going to do this? She was really stubborn. The constellation Demon King of Salvation has triggered the status of a constellation. Sparks appeared around me, and the surrounding gravitational pressure was temporarily relieved. I smiled at the startled, Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I might have an incarnation body, but I was still a narrative-grade constellation. I haven't sold it yet, so don't be too harsh. You were hiding. In any case, you can regain the martial arts technique if you win the competition. Won't you win the competition? The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint looked calmer and the pressure she gave off subsided. It wouldn't be a problem for her to overpower me if she used her real strength, but she seemed to take me as Yu Jonghyuk's colleague. She told me, I can't participate in the competition. It would be no fun if an adult plays with kids. The children of Murim are much stronger than you think. I'm aware. However, your disciple is strong. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint understood what I meant, and I patted Yu Jonghyuk's shoulder as he stood next to me. There will be Jonghyuk in the competition. Yu Jonghyuk turned and stared at me with wide eyes. I didn't know why he was surprised. Did he think he wouldn't participate? The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyebrows wriggled again. He's still weak. You can make him stronger. He is your disciple anyway. I never said I would accept him as a disciple. At this point, Yu Jonghyuk stared at the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint with wide eyes. In any case, the teacher and student were both not honest. The exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, has been activated. Well, I knew that not being honest was their virtual. It is too early for him. Jonghyuk will die if he goes to the competition. He isn't at a level to compete with the 10 Grandmasters. I couldn't fully hear the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's thoughts, because of my low understanding level. Even so, it wasn't hard to know what she was thinking. In the end, I had to do this for the teacher and student. If you accept Yu Jonghyuk as a disciple, I will let you meet your clan. What does that mean? Exactly what I said. You haven't found your clan yet, correct? The Breaking the Sky Sword looked at me with a strange expression. I don't know how you know this, but my clan has been wiped out. There are no giant gods left. No, there are still some left. What? I looked up and spoke, Master of the Underworld, are you still watching? Hades was now on my channel. I owed him for last time, so it was time to give a greeting. However, it wasn't Hades who responded to my call. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is looking at you with a strange smile. It has been a while, Persephone. Damn. This queen was hard to deal with. When did she enter? I was about to open my mouth when I heard more messages. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, says she has heard the story. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, will listen to your request. As expected, Persephone was quick when it came to good stories. The problem was that this queen never did anything without an ulterior motive. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, says there is a condition. As expected. Please say it. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Feast of Constellations. Feast of Constellations? It was strange. Was now the time for a constellation banquet to be held? Persephone's message followed as an answer to my question. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Gourmet Association. Chapter 235. Swindler. Part 3. From the next day onwards, Yu Jonghyuk was absorbed in training with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint kept maintaining a serious expression from the moment she heard her clan could be found. Yu Jonghyuk knew her heart but devoted himself to meditation instead of comforting his teacher. Originally, I was going to meet the ancient giant gods in person, but in any case, it wouldn't be bad to leave it to Kim Dokja. Yu Jonghyuk would have had to pass through 40 scenarios in order to meet an ancient giant god if he followed his original plan. That guy, I didn't think he would have such a relationship with the underworld. Kim Dokja really had unknown corners. How the hell did he succeed in charming all those constellations? The constellation demon-like Judge of Fire is laughing. Just look at this archangel. The demon-like Judge of Fire wasn't such a constellation during the second round. She was a strict and lofty archangel full of justice. Yu Jonghyuk couldn't understand why such an existence was so ruined this time. Are you really thinking about participating in the competition? Yu Jonghyuk nodded silently at the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's question. You might die. The competition scenarios are never easy. I am much stronger than I was at this point of time in the last round. It isn't at a level to deal with the 10 Grandmasters. Yu Jonghyuk was well aware of the 10 Grandmasters of Murim. One of them was the Ice Flower Goddess, whose techniques were sold by the previous merchant who welcomed visitors. There was also a Grand Master from the Namgung family, a distant relative of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. They would appear when the martial arts competition opened. In addition, the martial arts competition was a commodity, so he had to consider the incarnations of famous constellations participating. Some constellations are looking forward to the martial arts competition. Some constellations are tired of the martial arts competition. Fortunately, the stronger constellations were tired of these scenarios. As a scenario that repeated every year in Murim, there weren't many constellations paying much attention to the martial arts competition. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint read Yu Jonghyuk's heart and opened her mouth. You have to open Transcendence Stage 2. I've opened it before, so it won't be difficult. It is different from breaking through Stage 1. I will do it somehow. I've already reached Stage 3 in the last round. Stage 3? The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's eyes shook. The third stage of Transcendence wasn't a step that could be reached with talent alone. It took an enormous amount of time to pass through the third stage. On the other hand, Yu Jonghyuk couldn't have experienced such a large amount of time in the last round. Yu Jonghyuk understood his teacher's question and replied, I used a time fault in the dark dimension. A time fault in the dark dimension. It was often called the Cemetery of Murim. There were two types of Murim people who went to that place. In that prison of enormous time, there were those who hit the wall of talent and became crazy, or those who went beyond the wall. Yu Jonghyuk was the latter. I can't imagine how hard your training was. How many years were you inside there? Around 100 years. Stage 3 in 100 years, no wonder why you are so arrogant. 100 years. It was a long time for ordinary humans, but it wasn't the same for Transcendence. There were many people who lived for 200 or 300 years in this world who couldn't reach Transcendence, no matter how much they built up their martial arts. It was a wall that couldn't be overcome by improving the physical body with all types of spiritual medicine. There was a thick wall in Transcendence, yet Yu Jonghyuk crossed that wall 3 times in 100 years. I will shorten it if I enter the time fault again. It's a crazy idea. Using a time fault will numb the soul. Haven't you seen the martial artists who went mad in the time fault? Don't you know that there is a fine line between insanity and transcendence? In the last round, I couldn't surpass you even after entering the time fault. Of course. 100 years is too early to catch up with me. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint struggled for a moment before saying, in any case, you have reached the third stage, it is better to teach you than an ignorant person. Yu Jonghyuk's expression wasn't very bright despite his teacher's praise. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint felt something fishy and questioned him. Yu Jonghyuk eventually told her the story. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint heard the story and asked as if it was absurd, your spiritual awakening was while you were exhausted? Well, I don't remember exactly. In the end, he didn't know who he broke through into Stage 3. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's expression wasn't good. Are you confident you can trust your unconscious mind and break through to Stage 3 again? That sounds like the pseudo-cult followers of the Ice Flower Goddess. That's why I need you. Please teach me your techniques again. What? Using the same method as before is difficult. It takes too long. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint was stunned by her disciple's shameless words. I don't know if I should help. You've crossed the wall of transcendence, so you know that transcendence is never done in one way. All transcendents have to find their own way to transcend. You can still help. Isn't there the 10,000 streams will gather together school? TL, the idiom that all things will eventually return to the same point. It means we will have to find one of the many branches. There is no such enlightenment in the world. Just as there is no such story. Still, if there are 10,000 branches, can't we catch one of them? I've already found one in the past. Yu Jonghyuk said this, and thought he was somehow talking like Kim Dokja. He didn't originally talk this way. Maybe he was influenced while they were together. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint sighed at her silent disciple. Were you originally so talkative? It won't be easy. You should have seen from the previous round that the Breaking the Sky swordsmanship wasn't originally for men. Yu Jonghyuk also knew it. That's why it was very difficult to learn the skills of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint in the past. However, this time was different. The problem of gender can be resolved to some extent. What does that mean? The constellation who likes to change sex is snorting. Yu Jongyuk frowned at the indirect message. Complex emotions and enormous anger rose every time he thought about it, but he had to take advantage of everything he could. It is time to wrap this up. After a while, the astonished Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's mouth dropped open. Yu Jongyuk took out his sword with a blank expression. You can never tell that guy out there. In the Kim Dokja Industrial Complex, there are people who doubt your achievements. The story about the swindler Kim Dokja is spreading in the Kim Dokja Industrial Complex. I woke up from my nap due to a message in the air. Based on the message, it seemed that a bad rumor was circulating in the industrial complex while I was away. It was natural, since the industrial complex had changed rulers, but the new ruler never showed his face. By the way, swindler Kim Dokja. Why did it feel like people who didn't know my face knew me better? Kim Dokja. What are you doing? Someone kicked me, and I got up with a groan. I saw Yu Jongyuk, whose upper body was bare and covered in sweat. It was probably from the hard training under the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I was just thinking for a moment. You're being lazy. I have to be lazy now. I'm a patient. It was an excuse, but it was true. I had yet to fully recover from the exile penalty. The recovery was also delayed due to what happened with the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. I was increasing the proficiency of Lamarck Kirin and steadily ingesting story fragments, so recovery wouldn't be too late. I looked at the people training hard in the front yard of the place. How about those guys? The sweating Jang Haeung was sparring against Han Myung-go. The Breaking the Sky Master was supervising and pointing out any mistakes. That girl has a fair amount of talent. Her strange attribute means she is learning it very quickly. That isn't a girl. He's a man. Sometimes I don't know where your eyes are. What an idiot. He was a man, right? It was like this in the original novel. I was about to speak when Yu Jongyuk wondered, rather, what is happening with the constellations? I'm thinking. It had already been a week since I received Persephone's message. The constellation, Queen of the Darkest Spring, is inviting you to the Gourmet Association. In 1 week, the Gourmet Association Festival will be held at Oro Castle. Please decide if you will depart by tonight. An invitation to the Gourmet Association. I expected it to happen someday, but it was earlier than expected. The Gourmet Association. It was a gathering of constellations who loved gourmet food. At first glance, it was like the Constellation Banquet, but reality was completely different. If the Constellation Banquet was official, the Gourmet Association Festival was unofficial, and the intensity of the events that happened was also different. The constellation demon-like Judge of Fire is worried about you. Above all, there was no Oriel in the Gourmet Association. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is wondering about your choice. There was no the Great Sage the Equal of Heaven, no secretive plotter. Was there, the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon? I couldn't remember it well. In any case, the atmosphere of the place wasn't as favorable to me as the constellation's banquet. There was nothing more dangerous in the star stream than going to a gathering of unstable constellations. Yu Jongyuk read my expression and asked, "Are you frightened?" No way. I wouldn't have come all the way here if I didn't participate in the Gourmet Association for that reason. I silently watched Jang Haeung and Han Myung-go sparring. Han Myung-go was continuously hit and let out a scream. Yu Jongyuk watched along with me and stated, "It's because of this place." That's right. According to Persephone's message, the Gourmet Association Festival was exactly 1 week later. As it happened, the date was exactly the same as the martial arts competition. It meant I wouldn't be in the first Murim on the day the martial arts competition scenario occurred. If something happened, go and come back, Kim Dokja. Chapter 236. Swindler. Part 4. I reflexively raised my head at Yu Jongyuk's decisive words. Is it okay? The scenario we are facing right now isn't the Demon King selection but the martial arts competition. I had been thinking this, but once I heard Yu Jongyuk say it, I felt a strange sense of relief and pride. You have really become a person. At the very least, I won't die for the time being. Yu Jongyuk ignored my words and continued, the only thing that can be obtained from the competition is the Black Demon Sword. Getting the Black Demon Sword doesn't mean we can win the Demon King selection. Yu Jongyuk was right. Winning the Muram competition didn't mean we could win the Demon King selection. That's why you have to go to the Gourmet Association. We need colleagues for our nebula. You might be able to gain allies if you go to the Gourmet Association. I understood what he was saying. Go to the Gourmet Association and come back with some usable constellations. There was one worrisome point. Our nebula? Didn't you say you would make one last time? Kim Dokkaebis company? I'll quit right away if it is really named that. Yu Jongyuk turned his head away with a frown. I felt pleasantly surprised. The constellation demon-like Judge of Fire is wiping her tears with a handkerchief. It was something that was unthinkable when he first grabbed me by the neck. Yu Jongyuk and I really became colleagues. In any case, it was funny that I was hesitating when Yu Jongyuk told me this. I stood up and declared, I'll go. That night, I was greeted by a Gourmet Association guide who flew through the portal. The guide drove a small carriage with a black horse, while dressed in a Western cowboy costume. He seemed to be one of the subordinates of the owner of Oro Castle. The guide descended from the carriage and bowed politely to me. Are you the Demon King of Salvation? That's right. Take the carriage. The journey is quite long and you can rest. The guide didn't show any particular surprise or responses towards me. Was it because he was a guide of the Gourmet Association that he wasn't surprised by Demon King of Salvation? The guide got on the carriage and turned to ask me. I will pick up some passengers along the way. Do you mind? That's okay. Some passengers, who? I missed the opportunity to ask as the guide immediately started the carriage. The interior of the carriage was spacious and comfortable. There was no shaking at all, and it was like I wasn't moving. It was great. I could read ways of survival on the journey. I read ways of survival during these few hours. Maybe it wasn't a few hours, but a few days. It was difficult to measure the time because I didn't know how fast the carriage was moving. Thus, the 15th regression Yu Jongyuk thought as he died, I wasn't lucky. At the end of the 19th round, Yu Jongyuk thought, next time. Yu Jongyuk finished his 25th life and murmured, it really will be next time. I had to cancel, calling him a person. This jerk, he was still a sunfish in the first revision. It was the same whether I helped him or not. I didn't forget to find the information I needed on Yu Jongyuk's death. There weren't many details about the Gourmet Association. Yu Jongyuk visited the Gourmet Association in the later stages, but it was to kill them, not get along with them. Those sections were mostly filled with Kwayak. The Flying Fox said, constellations are all bad. However, the Gourmet Association are the worst among them. It was also impossible to find any favorable contents about them. The more I read, the more I was uncertain that going to the Gourmet Association was the right thing to do. Anyway, I continued reading Ways of Survival. Yu Jongyuk was thinking, it would have been nice if he had come with me. If there was a difference in taste between the original and the revision, it was the moment these words came out. They were traces of when I intervened in the original work. I paid particular attention whenever these lines appeared. It was because there were only a few scenes where the third regression was mentioned. You must do this. He said this is the right way. The right way? What did this mean? It is time to eat. If you don't mind, I prepared something simple. Thank you. The carriage stopped and the guide provided me with a meal. It was a type of in-flight meal. It resembled high-quality ham and smelled very fragrant. Of course, it wasn't really ham. The Last Gladiator of Planet Selegedon. It was a story meal typical of the Gourmet Association. It seemed to be a pretty strong story based on the concentration that I could feel. I touched the soft ham with a fork that the guide gave me. At this moment, some of the story contents flowed into my head. Spare me. Please spare me. A city that crumbled in a horrible manner due to the turmoil of the constellations. The appearance of incarnations bursting under huge pressure. The dying gladiator who lost all dignity. The bodies of torn incarnations pouring into the mouths of wickedly smiling constellations. The last scene of the world that had already disappeared. The screams and despair of the incarnations gathered together at the end of my nose. I looked down at the ham and quietly put down the fork. The food doesn't suit your taste? I'm not hungry right now. I answered with a calm smile. I'm sorry. I didn't account for your taste as a constellation. New food, no, I'll eat what I brought. The guide took away the plates in a regretful manner and sat back down on the driver's seat. Once he was completely gone, I barely relaxed my expression. It felt like I was going to vomit. A sentence I had just read in Ways of Survival passed through my head. It is a nightmare for the incarnations. Once again, I realized where I was going and who I was dealing with. I foolishly acted like I was going on a picnic. I touched some of the stories that were in my pocket. Compared to the stories they ate, the stories abandoned in this story horizon were almost colorless and odorless. They were the plain stories of ordinary incarnations living and dying in a normal way, just like trash. There was a reason why the Gourmet Association abandoned them. I absorbed the story fragments using Lamarck Kieran and quietly closed my eyes. Somehow, I felt like I was going to have a nightmare. The trip continued for a few days, and I used the interlude to look at some of the things I hadn't maintained. Coins possessed, 1,252,353 C. First, I checked the coins that I hadn't paid attention to lately. It was a really huge amount of money. 1.2 million was enough to buy the Great Demon's eyes. However, Anna Croft had already obtained it. I had a better skill, so I didn't need it. But I wondered how to use the remaining coins. It wasn't bad to increase my overall stats, but the efficiency of the stats started to fall once the average exceeded 100. From then on, investing in skills was much better than investing in stats. Of course, there were times when the accumulated overall stats were overwhelming. Once I convinced the fourth wall, I should properly check my attributes window. A new passenger is going to enter. It is okay? I was so immersed in my thoughts that I wasn't aware the carriage stopped. Yes, I am fine. The left door of the carriage opened at my reply. I was a bit nervous as I looked at the people who were going to join me through the cracks in the door. The possibility of it being a constellation was high. Ah. I've been waiting a long time. Why are you so late? I'm sorry. The road was a bit rougher than I thought. A voice that was somewhat familiar entered my ears. It was a high female voice mixed with a Russian accent. I could see 3 people through the cracks in the door. There is someone who has already boarded. I hope you have a pleasant journey. Whether it was lucky or unlucky, I didn't feel any constellations. In other words, they were all incarnations with stories. A woman with a gentle smile boarded the carriage first. Excuse me. The woman who greeted me politely had brown hair that fluttered in the wind. The moment the woman raised her head, I reflexively asked, Selena Kim? Selena Kim. She was one of the American representatives at the Constellation Banquet. Perhaps it was due to my changed face, but the woman was confused for a while before exclaiming. Ah, you. Do you remember who I am? Of course. Kim Dokja. It's been a while. Were you invited? Yes, that's what happened. I shook hands with Selena and studied the rest of the group. The person who followed with a girl with twin ponytails. What are you, eh? As expected, I had seen this person before. It was the Russian girl I met at the Constellation Banquet. Her name, what was it? I remember her having the nickname of Red something. I ignored the girl and checked the remaining person. At this moment, I got goosebumps. This is the first time we've actually met. There was an immeasurable depth in the calm and relaxed voice. I knew this person well. One of the strongest incarnations in ways of survival, along with you, Jong-hyuk. I had even met this person before. I saw you in a dream one day. I don't remember since it was too long ago. At that time, you said we would meet. I remembered. In the green zone scenario, I saw her after eating the Spectre Stone. I told her, I remember. I'll formally greet you. It is nice to meet you, Kim Dokja. No. Demon King of Salvation. She smiled while a yellow demon eye flew above her blonde hair. It was a very beautiful smile, but I couldn't accept it. It was because I knew better than anyone the disturbing thoughts behind the smile. I am Anna Croft, Asgard's prophet. The head of the Zarathustra, Anna Croft, was here.